Oh boy, do we have a lot to unpack here. What's up, Creepers and Geekers? Chris, the Atari Creep. How is everyone doing today? For the most part, this is going to be a spoiler review. I don't have any other way to talk about the movie without spoiling it. So what I'm going to do right now is just tell you my overall thoughts, put up a spoiler warning, and then expect you to fuck off if you don't want to know anything else about the movie. Literally, from the very second that spoiler clip goes away. Overall, I loved this movie, but not because it was any good. This movie was fucking garbage in the way it was. Maybe garbage is a strong word. It's bad, not in a so bad it's good. I think more specifically, it was made for a very niche audience that's gonna get it. This movie gets it, and it knows a specific audience is going to get it, and everybody else is just gonna be like, what? And we're all gonna be like, we fucking get it. That's it. I mean, it was a fun movie, drawn out in places. I think there was a lot of repetitive stuff to it, you know. This guy does this, the other one follows his breadcrumbs. It's kind of like a detective kind of deal. Dr. Frankenstein is dying, and he's trying to steal little attributes from each one of the monsters to bring himself to life. So he's doing a Frankenstein's monster of all the monsters to bring himself back to life. Pretty cool story, done very tongue-in-cheek. It knows what it is. That's pretty much all I have to say. That's not technically spoiler. So if you really are into the monsters, Monster Squad and stuff like that, I'm not saying it's at that quality, but I think if you could hang for the kind of, you know, I think you'll get something enjoyable out of it. Again, if you get it.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the fright break. Your heart may not be able to stand the shocking conclusion of this film, so we're giving you a chance to stop watching now. You're a brave audience to have lasted this long, and we won't hold it against you if you decide to leave before it's too late. Don't say we didn't warn you. Worlds collide in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good luck.
Yep, that's what you're in store for. When I said this movie knows what it's all about, this fucking movie knows what it's all about, guys. I took a shit ton of notes. The moment I saw the first cheesy bat to Dracula transformation, this movie had me by the balls easily. The intro, I will say this about it, okay? The intro was about 5 minutes before the first credit rolls, you know? Not much was said at all. And I liked it. I liked that it sat back and just let things happen. And now you're trying to piece it together. You don't quite know what's going on, but you know what's happening. Well, it was done well. So as far as the quality of the movie itself, it was done well in the style in which it wanted to do it. In that super cheesy, classic movie kind of situation. And I know this is going to get a lot of flack, but please, I hope you get what I'm trying to say here. The quality of this movie is like the Martin Scorsese of porn quality filmmaking. Not the porn part. Get that out of your mind. Think of the highest quality porn you've ever watched as far as acting abilities, story, structure, editing, sound design, and put the Martin Scorsese of the porn industry in there. That's what you have here. And it's fucking brilliant. It's got a lot of actually really rad gothic atmosphere. There's a ton of shots. I was saying to myself, I kind of wish this was in black and white. There had to have been someone in there that had said, you know what, let's try to do some of this in black and white, and they just never ended up doing it. I'm going to try to do that. I'm going to try to watch it in black and white and see if my opinion changes, but maybe it's just because the creatures are there, you know. As far as the monsters are concerned, you have Dracula, which is pretty cool because it seems like they're trying to summon Christopher Lee's Dracula, not necessarily going straight to Bela Lugosi. Wow, I must be fucking tired. There was a lot of emphasis on that. I kept getting Christopher Lee vibes from his, not Lee vibes, but Lee vibes. I have genes. I don't need any more. But I kept getting vibes of the Hammer Dracula, more so than, say, the classic Universal ones, which I'm pretty sure that was, again, done by design as either a nod to that, because not too many people talk about the Hammer ones. Yeah, they're revered, but again, in little circles, whereas everyone knows Bela Lugosi's Dracula, that sets the standard, and that's where all the cliches come from. But I did notice this. There were a few scenes where he was like in your face and you could see him as clear as day. And it looked cheesy. The makeup looked cheesy. But for the most of the part of the movie, I can't even speak, I'm so excited. He's done in shadows and dramatic lighting, like over the eyes, but it's done to the nth degree, which is what tells me that this movie is cheesy for the sake of fucking gooey cheese. And it works a lot better with Dracula. You also have the Wolfman, who they find last in all the... We'll get to that here in a minute. Who I think, as the human and as the wolf, looks awesome. Matter of fact, all the monsters look great, except for one. I think they cheapened out at this one guy, and we'll talk about him in a minute. The Mummy, amazing. Amazing job. Dracula, we already talked about Dracula. The Invisible Man, there's really not much you can really do there. You give a guy a suit, put some gauze on him, put the stupid welding goggles on, and you're in like Flynn. You have yourself an Invisible Man. I think all of the makeup and all of the work put into the costumes and all that stuff, as far as the monsters are concerned, was top-notch until you get to Frankenstein's monster. That legit looked like they just glued a sponge to his forehead that just went right here. And then the rest of it was done in makeup. And they didn't really do much blending aside from the cheekbones. It really disappointed me how disturbingly cheesy they made it. It really bummed me out, considering that's my favorite of all the Universal monsters. The movie kind of turns into what I was saying should have been the subtitle, Monster Mash Detective Dracula. Or maybe just called Detective Dracula. So I guess we should get into the story at this point. The story is Dr. Frankenstein has Frankenstein's monster... Wow, this is going to be tough to talk. Has the monster go out and do things, right? And in most cases, it's bring something back. The initial thing that sparks the whole thing at the beginning of the movie, before you even see the credits, is Frankenstein's monster kidnaps Dracula's daughter to imprison her, to use as bait, to get Dracula to eventually come get her and set a trap. Dr. Frankenstein's dying. And what he's basically doing, as I said in the beginning, he's trying to take parts from other monsters to create this uber monster to put his consciousness in, so that not only could he be an uber monster, but he's immortal. So he starts, if I remember correctly, with the mummy's heart. If you have the heart, you're immortal, which kind of contradicts the whole fucking thing. And there's going to be a lot of that, and sometimes they poke fun at it, and they give you like a... And it's done well. It's done well. And they knew when not to bring it up, to just let sleeping dogs lie. So he does that, and he disappears into a whole bunch of sand and a skull. The next thing he needs is, if I remember correctly, it jumps right to the Invisible Man, where this time Dr. Frankenstein asks him to bring back... By the way, he had to bring back the heart, okay? Frankenstein's monster. Dr. Frankenstein wants him to go to the Invisible Man and peel skin off of him. Peel some skin off of him and put it in this big clunky jar he's supposed to walk around with, you know what I mean? And he does. And he does. So Dracula, now at this point, starts following breadcrumbs, Frankenstein's monster goes and takes the heart. Dracula finds it. Brings the mummy back to life. We'll talk about that here in a minute. Then Frankenstein's monster goes to get the skin. Dracula finds him, brings him back to life. So it's like rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. And fortunate enough for our ragtag group, and we'll get to that here in a minute, the monsters so far that have gathered discover that the Wolfman is probably next. Meanwhile, they're using this gypsy sorceress lady to help them out in between. So it's like, monster does a thing, Dracula finds out, they end up at a pub. Monster does a thing, Dracula finds out, they end up at a pub. So, that lady brings him to this zombie that's a psychic medium to help guide them, to let them know what's going on, who's doing it. They don't know where he is and all that. So they eventually find out that Wolfman is going to be next for whatever reason. So they actually get to Wolfman first, which is kind of messed up because Frankenstein's monster does show up, and he was charged with taking Wolfman's arms and legs. So Frankenstein's monster destroys all these other monsters in a fight, gets what he needs, and disappears. Dracula's pretty smart-assy in this, and they're all like, hey, why can't you help him and all that? And he's like, he doesn't need it, and walks away, and the other two are like, huh? And then Wolfman just grows his shit back to get up, and they decide to join forces to be, and I wrote here, ragtag group of monsters. They had their own personalities, again, except for Frankenstein's monster. I think it may not have been the actor who did Frankenstein's monster, and I don't want to keep beating that dead horse, but just all around, Frankenstein's monster just looked like a cheesy TV commercial. Ah, eat the cereal! Fix me! Remember that toy? I got one of those in the other room. But like, the Wolfman had his calm, cool, kind of woodsy, kind of almost together guy. You had the Mummy, who was intellectual, as a matter of fact, but had some... He was funny, but in a way that almost like K2SO was, without the, elevated. And then you had the Ryan Reynolds of the group, which was the Invisible Man. And it was cheese, put on cheese, and then broiled to the perfect, bubbling, cheesy meltness with a slight crust. It was wonderful. And once they finally got together, I thought, oh, how fucking long have we been watching this? I was bored at that point. I think, what did I write down? At about 35 minutes into it, I was like, and what saved it was them finally getting together. And there was no bickering. They were just like best friends. Okay, we're monsters around the world. It's as if they exist and everyone knows of them, but they just stay in the shadows and leave everybody alone, The one thing I think that was the biggest detriment to this movie was two critical things. Again, the set design's great. The lighting, the story was pretty cool. I dug the idea of it. It was a really nice twist on Frankenstein creating his monster, but using it almost like I'm stealing superpowers from each and every one of you, and we're going to get to that. But the biggest two main problems was a lot of scenes were just drawn out. They had a lot of little great ideas, and they kept you entertained just enough sporadically. But part two to that is it almost felt like, and I'll give you two examples, and again, these are not major spoilers for the story, but it's something if you haven't seen the movie, you might want to witness. But it's like the director-writer, and it was the same person. They did, the director and the writer were the same cat. Had this idea for this scene. Great example. Dracula finds the mummy's pile of ashes or sand in the skull, and he tries just to get it to work, and that doesn't work. So then he's like, oh, he needs a heart, so he pulls a heart out of a rat and puts that on the skull and puts some goo on there or something. Oh, damn it, that didn't work. I guess all is lost. And literally, like in a cartoon, he starts to walk away and he goes, wait a minute, I know! My blood has superpowers! So it's like he had to overdo he could have just tried one thing and then be like, wait a minute. Oh, rise, my friend. And he does do the whole rise like a couple of times and it doesn't work, but it's not done for wah, 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 wah. It's just cheesy and needless. But there was a scene just like that, and then later on there was another one. I can't remember exactly what was going on, but it was like, remember the zombie medium? What was her name? Her name was Mrs. Browning. She was literally a corpse inside of a coffin, inside of a broken down crypt. Wicked great animatronic. And if that was makeup, then either way, fantastic creature. She was beautifully creepy. It was awesome, especially when she go into her chin. But the same thing happened. Hey, corpse lady, what is the answer to this? Well, what is the answer to this? and it just kept going. And they either got the answer or they didn't get the answer, and they tried something new. And it wasn't like they were having a conversation like, hey, who do you think's doing this? Frankenstein's monster. Why do you think he's doing it? Because of this reason. No, it was like a question, answer. Question, answer. And it's almost like the director just had all these different things that they wanted. They just couldn't figure it out, and they just said, fuck it, leave it all in, try to edit around it. Then you pretty much, somewhere in that mess, you get that little scroll that we had a few minutes ago. And I pray to God it doesn't get me a copyright strike, because I really want to leave that in there. I don't do a lot of like on-screen production value when I talk about these movies. That's the best you're going to get, because I'm too lazy to go through the entire movie 20 times and chop up pieces. And you go to good channels for that. You come here for the honest, in-your-face, foul-mouthed reality of the situation. Once they figure out what they need to do, they shoot Frankenstein's monster in front of the castle. He's down for the count. How he came back, I'm still trying to figure out. Something to do with Dracula or somebody doing something in the air and electricity hit him. But first they shoot the bastard and then they go in. And it's like each hallway. Think of The Last Crusade. You know, each little section had its own little test. But in this case, it was like the fucking Dream Warriors from Nightmare on Elm Street 3 showed up. Each one of the monsters had their own special ability to overcome. Like Dracula in one place is like, I'll just turn into a mist and go through the one with the blades that come out every time you walk by something. And then they found out one room, if you throw it, a fire comes out all over through the hallway, so you'll end up getting crispy. So they use the Invisible Man, they rip off his clothes, and he goes through and he turns off the thing. And that just, again, that becomes a repetitive thing. Once in a while, something cute will happen, like, the mummy poked his head around the corner. Is it safe? And I think that's when that little scroll thing happened. Dr. Frankenstein gets what he wants. I'm not going to get too much into it. And then he creates this thing I am calling the CGI Nightmare Man Beast. This is where, think of Children of the Corn and everyone's seen He Who Walks Behind the Row. And how disappointed a lot of you were. I wasn't. I didn't care either way. I love that movie. But the majority of people, and rightfully so, were like, that's what we're supposed to be fucking scared of? What is that? Yeah, it's a CGI fucking mess. It really is. It basically just looks like a video game werewolf that's overpowered. And they defeat him with a rock. Well, Dracula becomes a giant bat to fight this thing. And now I'm getting creature double features on LVI 56 kind of vibes. And the sound design, I think, was purposefully using little stingers to make you think of the classic monster like that, like the Godzillas and the Mothras and stuff fighting. And then Frankenstein's monster becomes their friend because he's fallen in love with Dracula's daughter. And he throws a rock or something at the beast, and then Dracula turns into a million bats. And the idea is they have to rip the heart out. That's what's keeping him alive. And then goes into the thing, and then explodes out of him with the heart, and then the thing dies. And then they go in a pub, and Dracula peer pressures Frankenstein's monster to drink a beer and get drunk. And that's it. That's the whole fucking movie. And I hope you got through all that, because I had to get through that fucking movie. It was an hour and 25 minutes that felt like 2 hours long. But I enjoyed it. I'm not going to say by any stretch of the imagination, it's a good movie. It's a fun movie for people who get the style of thing. I'm not going to rush to watch it again. I have it, so I'll hang on to it for when I'm just in a mood for something kooky like that. And that's really all it is. It's in the mood. I bet you it would play really well with a party of people. I really do. I think it would play really well with, you getting together, you smoke a bowl, have a couple drinks, you get chips and fucking pizza, and maybe you're having an orgy. I don't know. Maybe it's a circle jerk of you and just your buddies. But whatever it is, this is that type of movie where maybe find a drinking game out of it. Don't do that and kill yourself. I'm not responsible if you're stupid enough to do stuff like that. But it'd be great for a drinking game or, what have you. I think it's that kind of movie, and I'm going to say, yeah, if there were a 5-star thing, I'd give it about 3.5 stars. And I would give it a little bit more if it was a little less. There's some phoning it in from the larger of the entertainment. You know what I mean? The more well-known of the entertainment. But I think he still did a good job. And that's all there is to it. So if you've seen the movie, let me know how you feel. Hopefully you've seen it if you watched this whole thing. But if you don't even give a shit either way, did I convince you to see it, or did I conclude your suspicions to not bother? I do want to know. Guys, let me know your thoughts. Thumbs up, thumbs down. All positive to me, guys. Wherever in the world you are, I hope you're doing well. Please have fun today. Until next time, take care. Creep it real. Don't forget to donate to the Alzheimer's Association, please. Link down below. We got a bunch of prizes coming up. But either way, guys, I hope you enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Enjoy the beginning of your next week. And until next time, take care. Creep it real. And bye-bye. Go watch some fucking monsters and have fun.